Alright guys, how's it going this week? It's Thursday. I'm back with you every Thursday for now, 6 p.m., so join me. Today's idea came from one of our CEOs and creative director, Kevin, for using ground beef, because we know that everybody has about a pound of frozen ground beef in their freezer. I thought that the best way we can do this is to do nice cottage pies, which are about the same as shepherd's pie, but we're not going to use lamb. Shepherds tend to flock lambs, and cottage pies are with beef. So we're going to get into it. The first thing I have going over here is some potatoes. They're in the water. They're peeled. I used Idaho russets. You want more of a starchier potato for this application, not so waxy. So like a Red Bliss really wouldn't do too well, but give it a shot, see what happens, and go from there. It may collapse on you if it's in the oven. But, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our ground beef into the pan and start browning that up. So I know they say, use high heat. Really, if you just cook it long enough, it's going to start to caramelize, because we're going to add liquid to it later anyway. The main ingredients I have here is I found these nice frozen carrots and peas. Not bad for frozen product. I'm going to use 3 egg yolks to help the mash set, and then I have an onion here. If you don't have an onion, because I know fresh produce is a little hard to come by right now, you can use onion powder, granulated onion. And then I have a little beef stock, and that's really it. Now I want to talk a little bit about what I always have when I'm cooking, and what I think the home cook should set up as well. Of course, salt. You're going to want to buy a nice salt, nice kosher, coarse. We're using Maldon here. I don't know if you can see how flaky that is, but this is something that'll adhere to anything that you're cooking. You want to stay away from table salt. Plus that iodine, that's a little weird. The flavor, it's not exactly the best out there. So, pepper is something I always have. Now I know a lot of times you always see chefs season salt and pepper. You don't always have to use pepper. I just recommend with the salt, use the pepper to change the flavor, to enhance, to add a little heat to it. It's kind of there to make you salivate for the next bite. Try to get yourself a pepper mill too. I like this one. I don't know if you can see that. You can change the core size on there. Always use fresh. And if you toast them a little bit before you put them in here, you're going to tell the difference. I always keep a nice olive oil on hand too. It's perfect for finishing. You can use this like salt. It will just enhance any dish that you have. And then of course the French cooking in me always says to have butter on hand too. I always have that on my right side with my knife, because that's what I tend to grab the most. And we're going to do it right now because we're going to season the beef. A little salt going in. And some cracked pepper. Now, I like the pepper in this application because it adds depth. It's going to add a little zang to it. And beef and pepper just a staple to me. I'm using a non-stick. Feel free to use whatever you have. A whisk will also heat this up a little bit better, but kind of don't want to put the metal into a non-stick pan. Start getting cooking. Right, next, we're going to move on to our onion. And we'll have Jason come in close to us. So we're going to small dice this. You have the root here, and then you have this little part that comes off of the skin. Just take your knife, a nice sharp knife. Take that little nub off. Save that for stocks or whatever you please. And then go straight through that root. And now you're left with this. Try to keep your board clean. We don't want little pieces of skin. And then you're just going to peel that outer layer right there.
Chef, we have a question.
Okay.
Could you ever substitute chicken stock when cooking a beef dish if that's all you have in the house?
Absolutely, you can. You could use water here if you really wanted to, because our beef it's our ground beef. That's our base. We're gonna bring it together with the stock or water or chicken stock. I mean, I'd stay away from seafood stocks and whatnot. You could use lamb stock if you wanted to. But yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. And don't be afraid to use those stocks that are on the shelf right now, or even the bases. We got to use what we have right now. I know those stores are crazy. I was out by the Wegmans the other day. I just pulled in and pulled right out. I was like, nope. So our onion, I'm sure if anybody's a foodie, have seen this about 1,000 times. This is the way I like to do it. Get my hand up there with my fingers arced up to avoid cutting yourself, and make a couple incisions. Then we're going to kind of pull it towards us and just follow the contour of the onion. A lot of people will cut straight down, but you're going to miss those. So like kind of like that semi-spear you have going here. Go right in. Once you're at the top, your knife should go straight down in, and then start working the other way. Turn that, and then just go however big you want your onions. So I have about a pound of ground beef in there. I don't want to overdo it with the onions, so I'd say that's about 3/4 of a cup, and that's what we're going to go with. You can drain the fat off your beef as well if you're cooking. This is a very lean ground beef that we found, so not much is coming off.
Chef, how do we get the onion not to move?
As in on your board?
On the board.
I would that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to get into that when I show you what I have and what I use, so stay tuned. Another 5 minutes, we'll go into that.
All right.
I'm just going to sweat that onion out a little bit. At this point, I'm going to add my vegetable. Now, like I said, I have the peas and carrots, the frozen ones I found. You can use anything you want, but I would stay away from things like spinach, maybe even broccoli. It's just gonna release too much water in there, unless you kind of cook it hard beforehand. Parsnips would go great here. If you cook some mushrooms ahead of time, they'd go nice. That smells really good.
It smells delicious.
Okay, so we're gonna let that cook down a little bit, and then we'll get into that onion. So really what's keeping my onion from sliding is the wooden board I'm using. As long as you have a nice clean work surface, and it might be a glass cutting board you're using, that'll let it slide around. I highly do not recommend using glass, metal, like those synthetic material cutting boards. Get yourself a nice wooden one. If you're going to be cooking a lot at home and kind of want to do this, John Booze, right here, Booze Block. They don't pay me to advertise this, by the way, though I think they should. A nice wooden maple, cherry wood, a nice, the flat, and then they do like a cross-section one as well. But it's my board that's keeping that onion from moving. It's clean all the time. Again, I had some questions about what I use knife-wise. This is a shun. It's Japanese cutlery. This is the Hikari series. It's exclusive to Williams Sonoma. They also don't pay me to say that, but they should. And then my other knife is a Miyabi, also Japanese. This is the most important investment you want to make when you're a home cook or cook anywhere for that matter, is your knife. If you're spending under $50, and I get it, they're tough times right now, but if you are spending under $50 for a knife, it's probably not going to last you a lifetime. So we're just about done here. I want to add my liquid. So I have a little beef base and some water. I'm just going to go ahead and add that in there.
Sean thinks our cutlery is sexy.
Thanks, Sean. Sean has nice cutlery too. He likes those patina blades, the high carbon. I don't have time for the maintenance on those. Okay, so we have this right about medium low. I think we should re-season. and we'll taste that right now. I have a sieve, fine mesh, and a bowl. You could use one of those food mills that you see. You could even use one of those hand blenders. You could use a whisk if you wanted to. The idea is just to get it as smooth as possibly can. So I'm just going to drain them. You're going to see the back of my hair cut right now, which is awful.
Looks good, Chef.
I'll never take that again. I miss my barber.
Sean says your hair is sexy.
Thanks, Sean. So if you come in a little bit, you can see the liquid starting to reduce. The flavors are starting to intensify. And this is where you can get creative as well. You can start throwing herbs in here. Oregano would be really nice, and basil. I think another one I made before, I used a little chili powder just to kind of get it going. I mean, you don't have to, or you can throw in a bunch. Just kind of use things that make sense or that you would like. Okay, so I have one of these doohickeys, bench scraper, rubber one.
Technical term, folks, doohickey.
Doohickey, a thingy-majig. And I'm just pushing the potato through. So when you're doing cottage pies or shepherd's pies, they say mashed potato on top. And everything in your brain is going to tell you to add cream and butter, just like you would make regular mashed potatoes. But this isn't the case here, because we want some nice peaks. We want to get it. We want nice crispy when we take it out of the oven. I'm going to show you a couple tricks for that too.
Emily is sending love from Florida. Thanks, Emily.
Hi, Emily. How are you? I hope you and your family are staying safe. Hope you're cooking. There's nothing else to do, so.
Jonathan says hi, Chef.
Hi, Jonathan. Okay. So I pushed all that through. Again, we'll go back to the beef here. Still reducing. We need a little bit more time. Turn that up a little bit, actually.
Looks good. It smells amazing.
Okay, so I have 3 eggs here. I want just the yolk. I'm sure you've seen this 1,000 times too. I'm going to use both shells. You can use your hands. You can save that white and make meringue. That'll be a different episode though, not today. Oops. This potato should be cool enough, even though it came right out of the water, but you don't want these eggs to cook in here right now. We're going to save that for when it goes into the oven. The eggs are going to be the binder and give it the mash the nice color, nice golden brown, and it'll keep them from falling down. Okay. So I'm going to season these up with salt.
Jonathan asks, what does the yolk do to the potato?
So it's going to bind the potato together because we're not going to use butter or cream or milk. And plus, when it sets and we put it on top of our pie, you'll get a nice crispy edge to it, and it'll hold its shape. I'm just going to fold that in. You don't want to work your potatoes too much. They'll start getting starchy on you. Just folding them in. And you can see the color that it's taking on already. So when this cooks, it's going to get that nice golden brown that we all like. GBD, David Chang. Also doesn't pay me to say that. Golden brown and delicious. When we get to the part, when this is done, if you don't have what I'm about to use, you can kind of spoon this on top and make little crisscrosses with the fork. I'll show you that when we get to it. But for now, I'm going to put this into one of these piping bags. You could use a Ziploc, I guess, if you really wanted to.
Morgan would like one delivered to her house when we're done.
It's pickup service only right now, Morgan.
That's right.
Little spinaroonie.
Another technical term, kids, spinaroonie.
Booker T. those nice view shots.
Get a little view shot.
Okay, so we are just about there. Liquid. It needs a little bit more time, but we have something else to do in the meantime. So, but this will be the first secret ingredient. What I have is a little gelatin powder here. You can bloom some sheets if you have it. You don't need to use this, honestly. You don't want this cooking too hard when you add it. But what this is going to do is when you pull this pie out of the oven and let it set, this will help it solidify a little bit. So you don't have meat going everywhere. I add a little bit in there.
Robin's coming to pick one up when you're done.
Robin, I do have to drop something off to her one day.
Probably should.
She comes to watch me every week here. So I got like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon in there. I really don't know what's going to happen or how much you're going to need for that. Again, that's the joy of cooking is trial and error. And just having fun with it. Like I said, change out these vegetables if you want. You can use another meat too. Use lamb to make shepherd's pie. Okay, I'm going to do another optional step, and again, this is completely up to you if you have it or if you can find it right now. Or if you want to do the painstaking process and make it, I'm sure there's a million recipes on it, but I highly not advise that. I have puff pastry.
Yum.
I did not make this. This I have in the freezer. This is going to add base to our pie to keep it together. Like I said, there's nothing worse than when you pull that out of the pie tin or the tray and it just goes all over the plate. The vessel I'm going to be using is a cast iron pan, and I'm going to butter that. You can use a pie tin, glass, metal, spring pan if you really wanted to. Any shape, as long as it can go into the oven and withstand the heat. A fair amount of butter on there. And then just for insurance measures, I'm going to spray it a little bit too. There we go. All right, now if you come into the meat, the sauce is it's starting to gelatinize. And that's where we want it to be. So I'm just going to get a rough feeling for this. It's about there. Don't waste this stuff. Pop that into the pan. So. And we'll fix these gaps in a second.
Smells like grandma's kitchen in here.
My grandmother did make this a lot, honestly. This was my grandfather's favorite dish, she used to say. She used to call it shepherd's pie and use beef, but I'll forgive her for that. Just running my knife around just to get... You don't have to do this. This is like one of those chef things where you want everything to be perfect. Probably shouldn't be using your knife on the cast iron, but what the heck. And I'm just going to fill in the gaps with those pieces. That's pretty good.
That's great.
Sometimes you surprise yourself. Okay. So, and then there's our cottage mix right in there. See our onions have taken on some nice color. We have those carrots in there, the peas. We're going to push this down a little bit. And then this was always my favorite part. This is like one of those nostalgic things to me, watching my grandmother do this. She would use the pastry bag technique. But like I said, you can spoon the mash on there and then, take something like a fork and kind of scrape it. The idea is to get those nooks and crannies so that you get that nice crispy texture.
Chef Jonathan is asking if this recipe will work with meat substitutes.
Yes, actually, we did one a couple weeks ago with that Beyond meat, the Beyond Burger meat. It came out really good. I kind of like that stuff. I know that's weird for a chef to say, but you can ground some vegetables too. You could, like I said, you can do this any which way you want. You could use all vegetables. The gelatin too, you can substitute that for agar or agar. That'll also help it solidify. So I'm going to go ahead and pipe the mash right on top. I'm going to do little, I want to say they look like nipples, but I probably shouldn't.
Not great, Chef.
Not good. The boss is watching. Oh boy. There we go. Wish I had little segues.
Looks great.
Nice little intro music too.
I mean, I can sing if you want. Maybe not. Gorgeous.
That's all it takes. So, these are... So that'll come out just fine, and this is optional again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little Parmesan, and that's going to help with the browning. That'll be our secret.
Chef, we have another question.
Okay.
What would your next choice be after cast iron if you didn't have one at home?
I'd probably use like a Pyrex glass pie tin. Not a tin, obviously, like a Pyrex. And then I'd start moving into the metals. Even like one of those square ones. I just feel like the cast iron, like it just comes off so naturally, same with the glass. Once you start going into the metals, you kind of have to watch. I know that cast iron is metal, but there's just something about it. Everybody loves them because they work so well. But if you have like the stainless steel or aluminum, they tend to stick in the corners, which I typically don't like. And then a little bit of olive oil. And then with the magic of TV, we're going to place this into our imaginary oven out here. 375 is usually good for the puff pastry. And the timing is going to be different. You're going to probably need at least 12 minutes, but keep an eye on it. Don't walk away from it. And you're just going to look for a nice golden brown crust. Everything's cooked except for that puff pastry, which is going to take the heat from the cast iron, so that'll be done very quick, and the top on the mash. So usually a good rule of thumb is when this is nice, deep golden brown, the puff pastry will be done as well. So into the imaginary oven. And out of the other one, we have our finished product. Bloopers reel.
Okay.
I'm just going to oil this a little bit. Just give it a nice sheen. One of these little pastry brushes right here. Now the reason I have two knives is the older knife, the junkier one, goes into the metal pan. So we're going to cut out a nice wedge here. Ooh, I can already tell that it's set perfectly. Let's plate up two different ways. I always find like a lot of joy in plating, especially like if you're at home. Like, why not make it look like a nice restaurant? You have the time right now. So what I have here, again, optional. This is reduced red wine. I took a whole bottle of red wine and reduced it all the way down to about this size. So I have about 6-7 ounces in here. So you'll get this really nice syrup. Two hands in here. Getting out the first piece is always the hardest. I have one of these little spatulas.
Chef, are we posting this recipe somewhere?
Yes, I'll make sure we can get it out to whoever asked.
Great.
Need a little bit more surgery in there. I guess if they ask, that means it's a good thing, right?
True story.
Yes.
Look at that.
See how it's all solidified, perfectly rested? So you always want to give your pie, when it comes out, a couple minutes just so it holds up. I have a few garnishes over here that I found. Again, anything. You can use chives, dried parsley. You don't have to use it at all. This is the beauty of it. So I have some of these crispy jalapenos that we had from last week. There we go. Cottage pie. All in one dish. What do we use? 3 pans for this?
3 pans. Can everybody see that okay? Gorgeous.
So I'll plate up another one. Show you a little chef technique right here. Give it a little drag. There we go.
That was cool.
This is the beauty of cast iron. It just comes out perfect. There's no sticking. As long as you take time to liberally butter and spray it, you should run into no problems here. There we go. Do we have any questions before we head out today?
Nothing yet.
I want to remind everybody, please stay safe right now. Practice social distancing if you can. Quarantine yourselves. Wash your hands. I can't stress how important it is to wash your hands. I know I'm not using gloves right now, but this is for demonstration purposes. Of course, we take sanitation very seriously around here. Be good to each other too right now. You never know what somebody else is dealing with right now, especially during this time. So a little politeness and gratitude goes a long way, especially in these times. And just find a hobby to keep yourself busy, whether it's working out, cooking, of course. You don't realize the joy it can bring you when you create. It doesn't have to look like this too, but when you create something like this, the level of happiness inside you is just, it can fix anything. From any drug, it wouldn't work for that. So thank you so much.
One quick question, Chef.
Yep.
Wine pairing suggestion with this entree.
Really nice red wine. That one you're going to have to watch. I think it's on Tuesdays with Sean Bradshaw. He can give you the perfect thing for that. I would use a red wine. I won't even pretend to know much about wines. Burgundy would probably be the best suggestion. Any kind of red meat, for that matter. But yeah, tune to him on Tuesdays. I think it's Tuesday. I'll double check that and let you guys know, all right? Thank you so much.
Enjoy the weekend, guys.
Yep.